if anybody has ever read Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals is predicated on the ends justifies the means, which is a completely anti-Catholic ideology. You look at the educational elements of his progeny, and all of them teach this is how you organize, and how you organize is built around the ends justifying the means. Just do whatever it takes in order to get what you want. And for any bishop to, I can't see the bishops being ignorant of what Saul Alinsky was setting up and how he was instructing the poor to take what they want. So why they would go ahead and say, just do this, fund this, finance this, I don't understand that. And I don't know that it's defensible on a Catholic level.
Okay, so what are they saying about laying off 50% of their social justice staff? Well, how are they describing that layoff versus what we're sort of reading between the lines here and saying, well, clearly lack of funding, the voice of the lay faithful sort of ringing out against these issues. Maybe they realize they can't, this isn't sustainable and they can't keep going this way, so they're laying the folks off. What are they saying about it?
They're not saying much. What we do know, a June 25th letter went out that explained that recent layoffs at the conference affected 3 out of 6 of the department's personnel designated for the CCHD. And then if you go to the USCCB's website, even though it still identifies Ralph McLeod as the executive director of the CCHD, so they're not even updating their own website, but there are about 6 active positions. There's the assistant director, the grants administrator, and then you've got 4 grant specialist. Area E is vacant, so I guess it's been vacant for a while. But it looks like they're going to be eliminating 3 out of those 6 positions. Now, I don't know if that means they're just laying off the personnel and they'll fill the spots later, which would indicate that there was a problem with the personnel themselves, or if it means they're just going to eliminate the positions and reinvigorate what they're trying to do in each by consolidating those positions. I have no idea.
You know, I was having a conversation yesterday with some great Catholic gentlemen, and one of the questions that kind of comes up a lot whenever I have these private conversations, but Joe, we've had bad times in the history of the church before. What makes today any different? And one of the things that comes up is like, okay, you got Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò claiming that the Pope isn't an actual Catholic. Like, that's the gravity of the argument. It's kind of a big deal. And then, of course, you've got the U.S. bishops defending groups that are so contrary to what we believe as Catholics. It is a blasphemy and an offense against God. But they're defending these groups and giving our donated dollars to these groups in the name of what? It's mind-boggling. Like, I can't think of another time in history where that is the case. It does feel like things are really, really different these days. Do you see it that way, Michael Hichborn?
Oh, I mean, not only is the moral element of the time completely unique in all of human history. I mean, when was the last time the Catholic Church formally allowed the blessing of same-sex couples that were known to be engaging in sodomitical practices? I mean, this is unprecedented. But you've got the revolution of that very ideology at the very top of the Catholic Church. It's being propagated not only by various cardinals and bishops in the Curia, but by the Pope himself. So, yeah, we live in completely unique times, and it's very difficult to navigate. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So I guess we're going to be up against a break here, but Michael Hichborn is our guest. We're talking about the Lepanto Institute's reportage on the USCCB, and of course they're laying off 50% of that social justice staff, and we're sort of reading between the lines a little bit and trying to figure out exactly why they're doing that. But you know, I think it is one more piece of the puzzle to the entire picture here, and the lay faithful, they must stand up, because clearly the bishops had an opportunity here to say, you know what? All right, we tried that. It didn't work. The lay faithful don't like it. It is not well received. They're not giving us money, but they just didn't do that. They spun this thing so they can keep going with this thing. Even without the staff, I think they will continue. Do you see that they'll continue down this granting of these groups?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I actually don't know. A lot of the hard leftists like National Catholic Reporter, Commonweal, America Magazine, they're screaming bloody murder. They think that this signals a complete and total shift in what the USCCB is trying to do. Personally, I'd like to see an end to the USCCB itself. I don't see that it serves any real good anyway.
Oof, that's a bigger deal. And let's pick up where we left off right there on the other side of the break. I'm going to ask everybody to do me a favor, though. Go to thestationofthecross.com and check out that banner for our 25-year anniversary celebration in Niagara Falls. It's a conference. It's a gala dinner. Candace Owens is going to be there. She's going to share her journey, why she became Catholic. Praise be to God. Rim Delorio is going to come. Bishop Strickland's going to be there. He's been a fire and an amazing witness in this time of confusion, and I'm excited to have him on the team. He's going to be here next week on the show, as a matter of fact, but he'll be in Niagara Falls. Mother Miriam, Father Mateg, myself, Jim Havens, and even producer Jake. Go to thestationofthecross.com for the details. We'll be right back with more from Michael Hichborn. Don't go anywhere.
Hear a powerful sermon you need to share with a loved one? Maybe there's a guest, prayer, or teaching segment that deserves another listen. You can listen to any of our network-produced programs at your convenience by finding us wherever you enjoy podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, and the free iCatholic Radio app. Be uplifted in your faith. Listen today at thestationofthecross.com or on your favorite podcasting platform.
In the New Testament's first letter of St. John, chapter 5, verses 14 and 15, we read, "And we have this confidence in him that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in regard to whatever we ask, we know that what we have asked him for is ours." It's incredible to realize how much God loves us, what he has promised us, and what he'll give us through our trust in him. Have you prayed for the Station of the Cross today? We would be grateful if you would remember us each day in your prayers, whether it's the Most Holy Rosary of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, the Liturgy of the Hours, the Most Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, or any other prayers you pray throughout the day. Please also pray for the intentions of your fellow Catholic radio listeners. It's so important for us to remember to keep one another in prayer.
The Catholic Current, bringing Christ to the world and the world to Christ.
And we see that spirit of that thing, entering the church in a very specific way with St. Pius X back at the turn of the last century, and then on into the Second Vatican Council era. And the spirit of the council is the great coming out party of the modernist revolution, which has its roots in that same Enlightenment philosophy of the 18th century.
The Catholic Current, 5 p.m. Eastern, from the Station of the Cross and on the iCatholic Radio mobile app.
Be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. It's great to be on with you. Praise be to God. In spite of the fact that all of our live video feeds crashed a minute ago, we're back up and running. Producer Jake is feverishly working like a squirrel, storing away his nuts for winter just to keep all these spinning plates spinning, right? So praise be to Jesus for that. And by the way, it's July 1st, which means July 4th is this week. And it's the week that I have to say goodbye to my youth. So it's going to be a busy week. I'm going to be going on vacation, and we're going to have a great opportunity for Mike Koeniger and producer Jake to fill in, and they're going to have wonderful conversations. We're going to have Eric on the team later. He is a Catholic artist. We're going to be talking about the Rupnik artwork. Dr. Harrelson is going to be here, and he's going to be talking about Catholic migration history. It's going to be a lot of fun. So be sure to stick around. And, of course, July 4th, we won't be here. We're going to be off, and we're going to play some patriotic content for your liking if you are, in fact, still hanging around and going to work that day. But Michael Hichborn is our guest. We've been talking about the USCCB and their defense of the Catholic Campaign for Human Development. And, of course, the lay faithful's response to all of that seems crazy. And then, of course, they're laying off staff members. Kind of reading between the lines. Michael Hichborn, welcome back to the team. I do kind of want to stick at this sort of like bigger kind of where we're at level. Right now we're looking at even the Democrats right now. Even the Democrats recognize Joe Biden is not mentally fit to be president. Duh. We've only been saying this for a long time now. I mean, it's like abuse. Watching them cart him out is elder abuse. It's not right. They should not have done that. They've been doing it. They apparently want to continue to do it in spite of the fact that the Democrats are looking for an opportunity to get rid of him. But apparently they can't remove him from some of the polls in some of the states, by the way, now. They've sort of passed that line. So it's very complicated situations. There's that. Then you have, of course, Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò accusing Pope Francis of not just being not the Pope, but being an anti-Pope. It's a bigger argument. It's a bigger deal. And then, of course, you have bishops that are defending the Catholic Campaign for Human Development, despite the fact that they give them to groups that worship Satan or demons, let alone abortion. You have more people. Abortion is killing more human beings now than any time in history. You got more people addicted to pornography now than any time in history. You have a total collapse of society on many levels. France had riots over the weekend. You got unrestricted migration coming over the border right now. The economy seems to be in turmoil. Inflation still remains incredibly high and getting worse by the day. We're always on the precipice of World War III. Michael, I'm going to ask you, what do we do? How do we live in this great time of chaos and turmoil? Michael, I can't actually hear you. Michael Hichborn, hopefully we'll get your audio back up. I'm not sure what happened there. Isn't that the case, though? It seems like anytime we want to have substantive conversation about these things, this is when the technical demons started messing with stuff. That happened yesterday, as a matter of fact, when we were saying goodbye to one of our priests, beloved priest, Father Rock, who is also one of the Ask a Priest live priests, who was saying his final high mass at our parish as he's going to be making his way over to Nashua, New Hampshire, which, praise be to God, is Father Branch's parish, St. Stanislaus there. And he's going to be the third priest in that location. So we're saying goodbye to him in Texas, and we're sending him up to New Hampshire. And what do you know? On the last high mass of Father Rock, the air conditioner goes out just as mass is starting. And it is Texas, and it is hot in Texas. And poor Father Rock was just like in 82 layers of vestments, and it was sweating in the entire time. Do we have Hichborn again?
Yes, we do.
Michael, sorry about the technical demons that want to mess with us. So I was trying to ask you for your take on the level of chaos in society. What is your response? How do we live in this time?
Ride the wave, my friend. Ride the wave. The truth of the matter is we've got a tsunami of filth that is just resonating all over the world, and what we have to do is you have to have the virtue of fortitude. You have to have that stick with itness that's going to allow you to get through that difficult time. Saint Don Bosco, he had that vision of the ship with the two pillars, and the Pope was trying desperately to navigate the ship between those two pillars, but he was unable to do it. The subsequent Pope was the one that anchored the ship to those two pillars, one being Our Lady and one being the Eucharist. Well, those are our anchors. Those are what we have to anchor ourselves to, and as long as we are chained to Our Lady and to the Holy Eucharist, well, there's nothing that's going to blow us aside. So it's that fortitude that we have to have, that stick-to-itiveness. And I think that once you do that, you can ride that wave and you won't be washed away.
I saw that you recently celebrated 22 years in your anniversary, and congratulations to you and your wife for that. Praise be to God. But I love what you said here. It says 22 years, 8 children, 4 different places to live that we've called home, 6 different career paths, good times and tough times, laughs and tears, and a life of more love and adventure than any one man deserves. Well, that is a beautiful statement, but it also kind of reminded me of sort of the answer, to the times of chaos. Just exactly what you just said, that stick-to-itness. Man and woman committed to each other sacramentally, raising a family in good times and in bad, and in sickness and in poor. And this is the time where we must persevere as families. We must live in a state of grace, pursue virtue, be obedient to our state in life. And I think we're coming into this time where labels will be bandied about, tossed about, schismatic, excommunicated, or whatever. You're a heretic. You're the problem. Like, I feel like that's going to get a lot worse. And I feel like the lay faithful have to, again, live in a state of grace, pursue virtue, and almost ignore a lot of this chaos. Would you say that that's fair? I mean, not be ignorant to the issues and not do what's right, but at the same time, I don't think we can give it as much bandwidth in our daily lives as we have maybe.
Absolutely. A lot of people ask me how I'm able to continue doing what I do and look at the rot going on in the church. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't bother me because it doesn't actually touch me. If I were a sewer worker and my whole job was to make sure that the sewer pipes were clear, sure, there's some filth that gets, you get touched by filth, but you wash it off and you go back to work the next day and you continue to make sure that these sewer pipes are cleared so that people have clean water and so they have the ability to flush their filth down the toilets and that kind of thing. And it's difficult and it's not entirely fun, but at the same time, it's necessary. And it doesn't affect me personally because that's not me. I don't identify with the nastiness that's going on. And as long as I don't, then I don't feel the fatigue of having to fight against it.
Where's the balance between being aware of the situation or the scandals in the church or outside the church, and then, of course, just maintaining your peace?
Well, I think that anybody that wakes up in the morning and checks their weather app recognizes what they need to prepare for the day. If you're going to look and see if you need to put on a raincoat or take an umbrella with you, or, gosh, maybe I'll bring a T-shirt with me because it's going to be really hot. Whatever the situation, be aware of the weather, but don't obsess over it. You're not going to sit there and look at the weather app all day long going, gosh, is the weather going to change 5 minutes from now? No, you get a general sense of what's going on, and you go about your day. You don't look at the app again.
Well, the answer is yes. It will change 5 minutes from now. I live in Texas. Every 5 minutes, it's a new outlook. So we just don't even bother anymore at this point. The CCHD stories are going to be linked up in the show notes today, but I couldn't recommend enough just going over to Lepanto Institute's website, lepantoin.org. You'll find a tremendous amount of reporting on these stories going back years now with the receipts. Why exactly are there issues? And, I think you can spend some time, quality time, reading these reports, getting the actual details of the accusations, looking at the actual details of how these groups hate the Catholic Church but still receive a lot of money from the USCCB through the CCHD program. And potentially, if God gives you an opportunity to have a conversation with your priest or your bishop, you might consider sharing that. LepantoIN.org. We're going to the after show next. God bless you, Michael Hichborn. Thanks for being on the team.
So what did you think of today's show? Let's discuss that right now in the after show. Your take on the after take. Comment, interact live with me and the team. All you need to do is search for one of our live video feeds on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, LinkedIn, and elsewhere. Simply search for the Station of the Cross, Joe McClain, or A Catholic Take. I'm looking forward to seeing you and interacting with you directly. It all starts right now. It's the after show.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone. Happy Monday.
I feel like I have cognitive decline today for some odd reason. I feel like I've got the Joe Biden brain going on today. I can't get out of my own way for some odd reason. Damon, good morning to you. James 16897. Yvonne, good morning to you. Karen, Andy Bashaw, Paul, Mike K. Koniger is going to be in the hot seat leader this week. I'm excited because I'm not going to be. I'm going to be off. Kevin, good morning to you. Becky Hansen, good morning to you. Eileen, T. Storm, Jen Nugent. Jerome is here. Praise be to God. Good morning to you. Sci-Fi Mike is even here. Praise be to Jesus. It's desperate when Sci-Fi Mike is on the Telegram group because he can't get access to his beloved Rumbles. because all of our feeds crashed. Good times, isn't it? Good times. I think Dr. Stine is back. Praise be to Jesus. Good morning to you, Dr. Stine. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Good morning. Wasn't sure if your after show had started yet or not. Always thought it was about 7 when it started. So we're in the process of. We've got a lot of. We're getting ready for a road trip next week, and we have appointments this morning to do, and it's garbage day, and some minor renovations inside the house that we've got to make sure we take advantage of garbage day for. So it's kind of hectic this morning, and as a consequence, I can stay till 7:30 Central.
You got it.
To leave.
Well, praise be to God. We're grateful for whatever time you'll give us, especially since I asked last minute. You know it's awesome when you can text a guy at like 5 a.m. and say, "Hey, can you be on the radio today?" And he's like, "Sure." Like that's a level of coolness.
And the only reason I didn't see it until 30 minutes after you sent me the text was because I have to get ahead of my video production stuff for this road trip. And so the only things I can do ahead are like all those weekend videos no one ever watches.
Right.
Which I think are the most important thing I do, but no one watches them, which says a lot.
Right.
And then also the like any prophecy kind of video that I'm making. I can do those way ahead of time because most of the time they're not exactly timely. So I got to get a lot of that stuff done before we leave, because I plan to live stream from the road on a laptop that I just bought, and it's going to be fun. So,
well, I'll be doing I'm going on a road trip this week, and we leave Wednesday. We're going to go up through Arkansas, down into Clear Creek Abbey. I'll be spending my birthday at Clear Creek Abbey. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to Clear Creek Abbey, but I've only heard wonderful things. I'm especially anxious to see the set. It's like 6:45, 6:50, 7 a.m., somewhere in there, when they say masses at all the altars at the same time. So really pumped and excited to be about that. My
understanding of that mass that they offer though is I believe it's a transitional liturgy from the mid 60s.
So I've asked that.
That's what I've heard.
I've asked that question, and what I've been told is it's the 62 missal, but they do offer what they call a 65, which is that transitional one.
Okay. So you're likely to see those side masses then. Those private masses are probably your 62s.
Exactly. Yes. And apparently, so there's a main altar. And then there's an altar behind that one. And apparently the abbot says his at the one behind. And all of that is going on at the same time. So you've got a bunch of masses being said all simultaneously. Very pumped and excited about that. So we'll see how that goes. But that's my road trip. I will be doing one show from the road on Tuesday morning. We're going to be in Tyler, Texas. And so I'll do my show from the road there. And then we'll be back on the hot seat on Wednesday. But yeah, so road trips. It's July 4th, so this week, so it's the road trip season. Laura says, got my tickets for my birthday. I treated myself. Well, praise be to God, Laura. Do you mean tickets to like the Niagara Falls deal? That's super cool. That'd be awesome. Praise be to God. Good morning to you. Chris, good morning to you. Or Christopher. I like how you did that, Chris. I see where you're going with that cross in the middle there. Praise be to Jesus. He says, high mass at 9 a.m. the Sunday after the Three Hearts was the 62. Yes. Good morning to you. Praise be to God. Laura, so you're coming to Niagara Falls. That's awesome. From Canada. That's amazing. Praise be to Jesus. I'm glad to get a chance to meet you. That'll be wonderful. Petrix, but I feel so old. I do feel like Joe Biden most days now that I'm 50 years old. It's all going downhill very quickly at this point. Paul says, Tyler, are you seeing Bishop Strickland? I saw him a couple of weeks ago. We'll have him on the show next week when I get back. He's on the show. And then I might be going on pilgrimage with Bishop Strickland next year. So he's invited me, and I said yes, but hopefully it'll all work out. Probably to Greece and Turkey, I'm guessing. Which, by the way, persecution of the Christians in Turkey is taking an upswing these days. So ought to be very interesting. Petra, good morning to you. Jamie, good morning to you. Joey, good morning to you. Jay is on the team. Alex, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Yvonne, good morning to you. Debbie Furtado, good morning to you, Debbie. Glad to see you back. Michael, good morning to you. Praise be to Jesus. Patricia, Lights 10, Helen Grace. Alberto, Angel Knight, good morning to the team here. Love seeing you guys on the team, even though we lost our stream, it crashed on us.
Are we still streaming on Facebook? I see Lori over there, Junior Barra, Patty. Good morning to you, Jane. Good morning to you, Jane. We are praying for your mom. She's in the hospital with pneumonia.
I hate to interrupt. I need you to talk me out of something.
You got it. I'm here to serve.
You are a very reasonable person who's much more measured than I am in your speech.
Okay.
You need to convince me that it's a bad idea to live stream tomorrow on the topic of Cardinal Zen just nuking Michael Lofton from orbit. He literally responded to Michael Lofton's critique of his takedown of Fiducia Supplicans. And Cardinal Zen, let me just quote this to you. This was just posted by Michael Haynes, the LifeSite News reporter on Twitter. He said, just in, Cardinal Joseph Zen penned strong rebuttal of Michael Lofton's critique of Cardinal Zen's analysis of Fiducia Supplicans. Quoting Cardinal Zen directly, I must confess that I have often wasted my time following the program Reason and Theology of Michael Lofton, this big man with a little beard who would do well to hide his tattoo when he speaks like a theologian. I have been driven by curiosity to hear the hilarious nonsense he says.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Cardinal Zen. This is especially nasty coming from Cardinal Zen. I mean, nasty meaning effective, because Cardinal Zen is universally liked. There isn't anybody except like where Peter is crowd who don't like Cardinal Zen.
We're sure it was Cardinal Zen who said this. Like, we're sure of that. It's his Twitter feed?
The link. The link goes to oldjoseph.hkdavc.com. That's his website. The link goes there.
Okay, hold on.
How do I get
I'm going
there.
I'm going there right now.
Go to Michael Haynes' feed.
Michael from LifeSite News.
Yeah, the LifeSite Michael Haynes. Yeah,
I love Michael Haynes, by the way. What a great guy! I got to hang out with him when I was in Rome. Fantastic human being. Really, really. I'm gonna put my Jake. I'm gonna put my desktop on so everybody can see this. Okay. So Michael Haynes, just in, Cardinal Joseph Zen pens strong rebuttal of Michael Lofton's critique of Cardinal Zen's analysis of Fiducia Supplicans. I must confess, that just as you just read it, it's just, that is like mic drop stuff right there. Like, wow.
Right. Like, I would be like, I have to say there, if I, because of the things I've said about Hollerich and a few of them, if somebody like that penned something about me, I'd find it hilarious. But I don't know.
Yeah, me too. Are you kidding? I mean, like,
if I got the attention of Cardinal Gresh or somebody like that, but this is no joke.
That is
because Cardinal Zen is universally. Nobody dislikes Cardinal Zen. Even
that's a spicy meatball right there. Like, wow. Like, my mind is blown that he's just like, all of a sudden, just coming out, just mic drop, and then. But Michael Lofton will make hay out of that all day long. He's gonna have. He's gonna go live on that one, and he's gonna get a big audience out of it, and he's gonna have a heyday with it. That's what's gonna happen. But Cardinal Zen, he is the real deal, man. He's an amazing man. Praise be to God. And if he's saying that, like he doesn't criticize anybody. Not really. He doesn't even criticize Pope Francis that much. Not really. Like, the worst things he's ever said is not even close to being as edgy as this.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the problem is, I made a promise to God that I would not use my platform on YouTube or my podcast to stir the pot with other Catholic content creators.
Yeah, I don't like doing that either.
So I kind of might have to ignore this thing, other than this conversation we're having here.
Or just... Well, it's news. It's a news item.
Just give it straight news. I will, just be like, this is a letter, him critiquing Michael Lofton. I offer this without further comment, and just read the thing.
I mean, like my opinion of Michael Lofton. Who cares? Like, nobody cares. Michael Lofton doesn't even care. Like, what I think.
If you want to watch Michael Lofton, that's your business. I don't care. Right? I have no opinion on what he does because I purposely.
But when Cardinal Zen says something, it's like it's a different ball game. It's news. It's a news item.
Zen addressed a YouTuber. Okay.
Right. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That's where we're at right now, where YouTubers are having a conversation at such a scale that princes of the church at his age are paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
That is That blows my mind. That blows my mind. I haven't reached the level of having a Vatican-assigned operative to review my content, but you probably have. So hopefully,
I don't know about that. I am aware that there are bishops who watch my show, but they're all anonymous. That's it. Other than Bishop Michael of the traditional group that rejected Vatican I, or at least rejected. They acknowledge Vatican I. They acknowledge the papal infallibility thing, but there's some hang-up they have with it. Whatever that group is, whichever old Roman or old Catholic, I can never keep them straight. He's the only bishop that I know by name who watches me. But beyond that, I know that there are others, but they're all anonymous. And I always guarantee whenever a priest sends me a inside tip that I will guarantee their anonymity, because obviously, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, okay. So you asked for a voice of reason. Okay, so Becky has stepped up to provide the voice of reason for the two of us who have gone absolutely giddy over the Cardinal Zen comment. She says, wait the 24-hour rule. The 24-hour rule. Wait 24 hours for more information, then report the Cardinal Zen topic.
Right. I wouldn't talk about this publicly till to my live stream tomorrow morning, and that's close enough to 24 hours. Right? If Michael Lofton's going to respond, he will respond today. I guarantee you Michael Lofton will probably try to go live.
Oh, if he's not already. If he hasn't done it already.
I can check. I mean,
I'd be surprised. He's pretty quick at that stuff. He's pretty quick.
If he's up this early, 7 in the morning, right?
Well, we're men. Men are usually get out of bed early, right? I mean, as producer Jake, he's up early.
Let's see. Does he have a video yet? No, the last video was 3 days ago. He's not live right now. So, but it's 7 in the morning. For all I know, he could be, having a workout right now, reading the news, doing whatever it is he does in his morning. Going to mass. I mean, who knows?
Joey, are you saying Michael Lofton is a sete? I don't believe.
Not a set. He is
definitely
not
a sete.
He's one of the guys who hurls that term around.
Right. He would probably think I'm a sete.
Right. No,
I'm not.
Much more likely that Michael Lofton thinks that you and I and your audience here are setes.
All setes, yeah. Setes for you, and setes for you, and you're a sete. And but I think that's kind of where we're at. We're going to be there. It's like Archbishop Lefebvre. He had to live with the title excommunicated till he died, right? And now, of course, his reputation is being rehabilitated. I think a lot more people see him more favorably now as a result. But I think that's the time where the average parishioner is going to be caught in this war, civil war, and they're going to be called schismatic and heretic and excommunicated and all the rest. And they're going to have to live with that, the uncomfortableness of those terms, and just be at peace and have faith that they are faithful Catholics. Because you're basically being ushered into two camps. You're either 100% on this camp or you're 100% on that camp. You're never going to be allowed that middle ground. Whereas I think we take that middle ground and we say, no, I'm a faithful Catholic, but I am clearly saying that this is wrong, and I'm not going to be put into that bucket. Thank you, but no. But that's where we're at. You're not going to be allowed to have that nuanced position. Speaking of Lofton, wasn't he king of nuance?
All I know is
that his thing?
All I know is that Michael Ybarra doesn't associate with him anymore.
Oh yeah, I listened to Michael Ybarra's podcast. What was that, like 3 months ago, or something like that, where he talked about how he and Michael Lofton went separate ways. Michael Lofton rejected Ybarra's answer, though, response, or his version of things. Michael Lofton claims that wasn't true, but. Yeah, I don't. Again, to me, a lot of the drama that comes out of these content creators, it just feels dramatic and high school cafeteria like, and I'm like, guys, like grow up, man. This is silly. It just feels silly for the most part.
I try to avoid the drama myself because there's no point to it. It's one of the reasons if I report on this, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to present this with any comment. Here's what Mike Cardinal Zen said.
Yeah, that's right. Without comment. That's right. Simply a news item, people. I'm just reporting the news. That's all I'm doing. Oh man,
draw your own conclusions from the most universally liked bishop in the church.
Good grief! I'm gonna be honest with you though. Okay, so I'm gonna read this statement again. You just read it. I'm gonna read it again. Quote. I must confess that I have often wasted my time following the program, Reason and Theology of Michael Lofton. This big man with a little beard who would do well to hide his tattoo when he speaks like a theologian. I have been driven by curiosity to hear the hilarious nonsense he says, close quote. I'm going to be honest with you. And I gotta tell you, that does not sound like Cardinal Zen to me.
Well, here's how we can check. We can go to the link because the link is his website. Like, I can see that is his website. I've been to his website many times. He says, I am accused of not following the hermeneutic of continuity when criticizing fiducia supplicans. And it opens right on his website with that paragraph you just read. Except it goes more than that. He says, I've been driven by curiosity to hear the hilarious nonsense he says. This time, however, I saw that he was criticizing me. With great seriousness, he is scandalized that I, who insist so much on the hermeneutic of continuity, now dare to criticize fiducia supplicans. And then he gives a date for the broadcast without a link. This means that Mr. Lofton does not even know how to distinguish the different value of pronouncements that come from Rome. It just goes on. It's his website.
That's big. It's huge. I mean, that's so rough. I mean, I feel bad for Lofton now a little bit, to be honest. I'm like, wow. I'd be so crushed, if Cardinal Zen said that about me.
This is what I would expect people to say of me if I ran around reporting on every single alleged mystic and prophet, that self-described prophet who runs around out there, whether they've got a collar on or not, every alleged message from heaven as it comes out. That's what I would expect people to say of me if I did that. It's, I get questions, why don't I cover fill in the blank mystic that people really like right now, or Father Rodriguez or whoever, all these people. I'm like, because they're current. I have a rule. Don't, they're current. It's a news item. I'll report on it like once, and then I'm not going to give you any more messages because
I had Father Rodriguez on. I actually aired his. It was like kind of like a press conference is the way I looked at it. It mounted to 3 hours though of his message last week, and a lot of Catholics did appreciate me airing it. But and as I said after, I don't. We talked about this Friday. I guess it was Friday. Was it Friday? We did it Friday. Yeah. Whether you like him or hate him or love him or whatever, we heard him out, and we, you can draw your own conclusions based on that. But I do find it very interesting because I do see a lot of dots connecting right now from a lot of different circles, not just, and that was the point that I wanted to illustrate, was just that there are a lot of people from various walks of life, all kind of saying the same thing right now. I think we should pay attention to that personally. I think we should pay attention to that. I think you don't have to be a prophet or a genius to come to some conclusions about what's going on in the world today. And if we don't react to that with greater holiness and piety, and then acts of reparation being the big key takeaway, then woe unto us, because man, the signs are many, and they're coming hot and heavy these days.
I don't trust Father Rodriguez because I paid attention 4 years ago when he said that Trump would lose the election. Well, literally, if you paid attention to any number crunchers in the week before that election, they said the same thing.
Right.
But he also said civil war would happen right afterwards.
Which I hope never happens.
Well, he said 2020, so
he's right now. It's talking Third World War, right? And everybody's talking about Third World War right now. And I don't want Third World War to happen.
Right, and I said on Twitter when somebody asked me about this, I'm like, well, if he said Third World War, it makes me feel a little more comfortable that we're probably not going to have it then, because I don't trust.
I hope so. I hope we don't.
Because
I don't want that.
You're supposed to have a pretty high hit rate to be taken seriously as a mystic, and he did.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of others, he doesn't. That's why I don't pay attention to Cardinals. I let the church rule on it, which now, thanks to Cardinal Fernandez and Pope Francis, that's never going to happen because they don't believe in reporting on miracles. Which, by the way, how is this going to affect canonizations?
Yeah,
because,
buddy.
Think about it. But then again, they invented like a whole third category for canonizations. Like, it's not just you're a miracle working saint, but it's also you can be a have the Red Crown of Martyrs, right? Those are kind of the classic ones. But then there's a third one now that I think means that they had like the right stuff, basically, according to the Pope canonizing it. That's why
I don't know. We've talked about this in the past. I just believe the canonization process is in very political system. It's about lobbying for your guy or your gal, and it's about who you know and your power play and all the rest. That's not to say that, well, I'll just use Carlo Acutis as an example. It's not to say that Carlo Acutis wasn't a good Catholic boy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know him, but I mean, I'm sure he was great. I almost want to put him to the side and say it's not about him personally. It's about the system. So Carlo Acutis gets the canonization, but Miguel Pro still isn't. Like, that seems lopsided and weird to me. My mind can't understand this. Like, Carlo Acutis, praise be to God. I'm sure he was a wonderful, faithful, pious Catholic who madly loved the Lord and Savior Jesus, and praise God for that. But the system seems weird. It doesn't seem straightforward that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you can't escape the perception of that going back to when they changed the rules on this in 1983 or 85 or whenever it was, when the number of miracles got changed, the elimination of the devil's advocate. I mean, let me put it to you this way. I remember distinctly watching Michael Matt reporting on the canonization of Pope Paul VI and him laughing the whole way through it, because there was no cultus for Paul VI.
Right.
There was apparently one for John the 23rd. There were people who held a special, where they had a special place in their heart for him, but nobody for Paul VI. Nobody. Like this. And then when you look in the more like bird's eye view, all of a sudden, what do you have? You have John the 23rd, Paul VI, John Paul II, all canonized, and now a process for John Paul I for some reason. Noteworthily, by the way, they've said we should wait 50 years at least for Benedict XVI. Well, that's convenient. Again, I say that as someone who has a very
so funny.
I have a very nuanced position on Joseph Ratzinger, as broadly speaking, but it's convenient.
Yeah, JP1 definitely gets the nod. Benedict XVI, well, I don't know. Let's just wait a while. Like, okay, let's go back to waiting a while. Probably a good idea. Mm-hmm. Petra asks, isn't it because of the recent miracle associated with Carlo Acutis? If there are legit miracles, and I hope they are, don't get me wrong, praise God.
That's another thing that's gotten a lot of question, and not about Carlo Acutis himself.
So
but
I do want to just be careful and just say, I want to separate the person Carlo Acutis from my commentary on it, because I can't.
Kid, but I don't know.
I have no personal knowledge of his life or whatever, and all I'm saying is I'm just illustrating to say, listen, I can be completely fine with a Saint Carlo Acutis, but the trouble is it doesn't make, like, it seems when you look at the whole, you're like, the system seems lopsided. It doesn't seem like clear cut and obvious. You get Carlo Acutis. You get John the 23rd, Paul the 6th, JP1. Benedict has to wait 50 more years. I mean, JP2, there's things I love about JP2. Don't get me wrong. But then there's things I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are we talking about? The whole Assisi thing, that is a major, major problem.
If you had a devil's advocate involved in this, they would have zeroed in on Assisi, because Assisi was, I didn't want to remind people of this, Assisi was the original Pachamama. Before there was Pachamama, there was the Assisi conference. And so was it 2 weeks after the Assisi conference, was it an earthquake destroyed that parish or something?
Like, exactly. Let that sink in. Guys. Like, God's not going to be mocked. That doesn't mean that JP2 couldn't have repented in his life, made a really great confession, done private penances. Well, that we don't know
claims about JP2's final destiny whatsoever.
Right, exactly. That's I guess the point that I'm making. But again, I use Miguel Pro as my sort of my example in this conversation to say it's obvious the man forgave his murderers before they murdered him, and he clearly his dying breath was "Viva Cristo Rey." So, if he's definitely a martyr for the faith, why doesn't he become Saint Miguel Pro? That makes no sense to me.
And again, an example close to my wife's heart is the priests on the Titanic, who purposely gave the spots they were offered to other people and were absolving people's sins right to their last.
Exactly.
And so that's heroic virtue, which used to be one of the main hallmarks for it. There is a cultus them out there too, by the way. There are people out there pushing for their canonization. And I say this as someone who is not a fan of every attempt to canonize Catholics that we admire. Let me give you an example. I love G.K. Chesterton, and I do not support the cause for his canonization. Because I will tell you, as someone who struggles with obesity, there is a virtue problem there. And his friend Hilaire Belloc candidly said it was probably his love of beer and cheese that killed him.
I love cheese too, man. I do not drink beer. I don't drink it all anymore, but boy, do I love some cheese. I could crush some cheese right now if I had it in front of me.
And as famously as a guy who uses Hilaire Belloc as his mascot on his channel, I would probably not support the cause for canonization of Hilaire Belloc either. Not against on any virtue ground. I just don't believe that every Catholic that we admire, unless you have really good reason to believe that they're in heaven, should actually have a cause for canonization. It should never be
that should be the key right there. That should be one of the keys right there. You know, we're trying to make a definitive statement about them being in heaven, right? And and it gets complicated at best anymore. It feels very political and very, just like the Swamp Watch. Like the group that has the most power, influence, and money to get their guy or gal through the process wins. That should not be the way it is, in my opinion. Even if the guy or gal is great. It just shouldn't work that way. I mean, Pius X, we call him saint, yet he smoked a pack a day, and he changed the divine office, which might have led Pius XII to change the 55 Easter liturgy, which might have been used as an excuse by the Bugnini crew to go full on nuclear war on the liturgy with what we call today the Novus Ordo. So, I mean,
sure, but there are miracles associated with St. Pius X, though.
I know. I'm throwing jabs because I knew Jake I'd probably trigger Jake. That's what I was going for.
But here's the deal, though. Think about this one. All the post-conciliar popes canonized. There's even a talk now for doing the same for Pius XII. But between like 1570 and 1905, whenever Pius X came to the throne of Peter, noteworthily, there were only two popes from that period who got canonized. And they're the ones I just named, St. Pius V and Pope Pius X. Not to say that some make the case for Leo XIII. Show me the miracles is all I'm saying, or show me the extraordinary heroic virtue, or make the case that he was martyred somehow, even though he reigned for, shortly less time than John Paul II did.
A long time.
Just show me the case. Right. And he reigned for a long time at a time when that was needed. In the aftermath of Pius IX.
We love Leo XIII, though, right? Leo XIII was amazing.
I admire him greatly. That's why I have like a third of his encyclicals on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, his writing is so good.
If you want to call him a servant of God or the rest of it, okay, no argument. Canonization is different, though. Part of the reason this bothers me so much is all the people we try to canonize. What if they're in purgatory and need your prayers?
Right.
And the reason people say it because it should be an part of infallibility, and when a pope declares this, although technically never defined as such, technically.
Mm-hmm.
But
Archbishop Fulton Sheen. I love Archbishop Fulton Sheen, but the last things he was saying in interviews were very troubling. Just very troubling. You're just like, what happened here? Like, please stop. Please. I think you got broken by the system personally. I think you got worn out by the system and the never air your dirty laundry kind of routine from the church, the hierarchy of the church. They're very used to that. He was definitely on that team. No matter what happened to him behind the scenes, he just didn't air that publicly. He was a team player. But I'm not willing to throw Archbishop Fulton Sheen out. It's like for the same reason I don't throw Origen out, right? Origen didn't die a saint, but his writing is amazing. We love it.
But we have this conversation because they changed the rules in such a way in the 1980s that it just opened the floodgates for all these canonizations, on top of the crisis in the church already, on top of the new ecclesiology, on top of all the chaos, all under that diabolic disorientation umbrella.
Yeah.
That's why we have these conversations. And that's why people don't immediately get offended by them most of the time.
And it's also why people might, sort of trad Catholics might be like, oh, Carlo Acutis, what if he is really legit, like a fantastic Catholic? Like what if he was truly holy and virtuous and absolutely worthy of being called a saint? But we're questioning it.
What if he's a better Catholic than any of the people criticizing his canonization, which might be the case.
Which definitely could be the case, but the point is we're calling into the question the process, which is not his fault, right? Like he had nothing to do with any of that. But because it feels like he's being used as a poster boy for some within the Vatican's and their agenda, it just, it feels off-putting. Just feels very off-putting. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't know what to. Poor Carlo. I even hate to criticize the kid. I feel like a horrible human being for criticizing a young Catholic boy who had a love for the Lord.
You're not criticizing him. You're not trying to hit him with his love for video games and whatever else people say. Right, yes. You're going after the people who elevated him.
Yeah.
Under the new system. And you're going after the new system for canonization, because the new system for canonization, the only time I've seen the Vatican deviate from that at all was Mother Teresa, when they brought in Christopher Hitchens of all people to be the devil's advocate, which is because they didn't call him a devil's advocate because traditionally the devil's advocate was a Catholic, typically a bishop or a priest or a cardinal, whose job it was to dig up all the dirt on the person and try to make the case that they weren't a saint. And then afterwards, they would go to penance and go to confession afterwards, because they had to basically slime the person. That was their job. And Christopher Hitchens isn't Catholic, or wasn't.
No.
He's one of those figures that I listen to him talk about secular politics from the time. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't got a problem with what you're saying. And then he brings the church in, and then he just,
He was...
a lot of people like that out there.
Was it Christopher Hitchens? Is he which one died? I forget which one of these atheists died.
Christopher Hitchens is the one who died.
And who's the other one?
His brother is Peter Hitchens, the famous Anglican commentator in the UK. But the other ones are Richard Dawkins, who recently said some things about who recently who blew the minds of a lot of atheists, his fans. By
he wants Christendom back, but he doesn't want Christ. He just wants Christendom because he doesn't like what's happened to his country.
Recognize the consequences of your actions is the first way to fix the problem, and so that's a good sign that and he's not the only one. I've heard a lot of the people who are inspired by him in the last few years go from being angry liberals to actually being very conservative and saying, "Yeah, I might still be an atheist, but I'd rather live in a hardcore Christian country as long as it's not a full-on theocracy than what we have now." So there's movement in this. So maybe pray for the conversion of all the people who are like that in the public eye. But especially, can you imagine if Richard Dawkins converted?
Yeah,
I mean, any kind of conversion, even if it was like he became Anglican or something. I mean, can you imagine? The
I would love to see. I would love to see Joe Biden repent before he loses all cognitive capability for his own sake. I'd love to see Nancy Pelosi repent. I'd love to see a lot of Catholics that are and non-Catholics. Of course, Richard Dawkins would be an amazing. Joe Rogan, let's go, Joe. It's time to make that leap of faith. Make that leap of faith in the right direction, right? I see Russell Brand moving in that direction, and praise God for it. But we're still on a journey. Candace Owens, that she's still on her journey. Praise be to God. We're all on our journey, but it's like now or never.
Pray for the repentance and conversion of Jill Biden, the woman who is most single-handedly responsible for the elder abuse that the whole country is being subjected to.
Oh my God! How do you figure that?
I'll tell you this, my political biases aside, which wants Joe Biden to stay in that race for as long as possible, I will tell you right now, it's absolutely reprehensible what they're doing to him. But how? Oh, it's simple. There are people who know more about Jill Biden than the rest of us. She loves the access, and she is essentially the de facto president, a la Woodrow Wilson's wife at the end, and as rumored, even Eleanor Roosevelt. Right? She's become that.
I know. I saw a picture of her sitting at the president's desk on Air Force One, and she's signing these documents, and she's in charge right now, which is part of the reason why Kamala Harris is probably so upset that she's not getting the nod, because Jill's basically the first, de facto female president of the United States.
So this morning there was this morning Kamala Harris has a meeting with all of her staff.
I know. I read it on the show. It looks like Bill O'Reilly's reported that, despite the fact that the Biden family met in Maine to try to discuss what they wanted to do, Hunter Biden pushed his dad to stay in the race. Golly Jewish, I wonder why. Could it be that Hunter Biden might need his dad's, executive pardon soon? I don't know. Maybe. But nonetheless, Bill O'Reilly's saying he's dropping out.
Joe Biden has to be the one to do it himself, but here's the problem. If he drops out, that means immediately the Republican Party can do the smartest thing they've ever done, which will be in Congress to invoke the 25th Amendment and try to get him removed, putting Kamala Harris as the incumbent. Kamala Harris, who is the only person alive less liked than Joe Biden.
I know it's going to be great. But we're out of time for you. You're going to have to go. But let me put this one last log on the fire here, and that is, I saw another report that said there are several states that have already come out and said it is too late to take Biden off the ticket in their states. So even if he's not on the ticket, whomever they put, they're going to have to do a write-in campaign. And how successful are write-in campaigns?
And those states, by the way, are Wisconsin and Nevada, which are swing states.
Yeah.
And the other deadlines for most of those other swing states are coming up. So I will tell you this much. They're likely to just focus on the House and Senate. Because that's ideal they have left.
We live in such interesting times.
And the numbers aren't on their side for that either.
Oh, weekend at the Biden, says Laura. Weekend at the Biden. All that while Cardinal Zen does a mic drop on Michael Lofton. Man, oh man, what's going to happen tomorrow, Anthony Stine? Like, what headline will we read tomorrow? I almost can't wait to see what happens next. We live in a world where the Biden family is the weekend at the Bernies and Cardinal Zen is mic dropping Michael Lofton. So bizarre. God love you. Thank you, Dr. Stine, for hanging out with us again today. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow morning. Until then, God love you.